All righty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BirdDog Live Session. I'm Anthony Barocas, and I am here to welcome you all to the show. We've got a good audience today. I can see how many people are viewing. If you are watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can use the comments to say hello, ask questions, and things like that, because we will have a Q&A at the end of the show. And I have a special guest. I have Dan with us today. He's got a special treat, a special thing to show us, and he will also be here to answer questions. So feel free to throw your questions into the comments, or even just say hello. And hey, like DJ Cypher says, hello, Anthony. Hello to you as well. And this is the part of being live. You know, you have some, it's like being able to call Dan up. Hey, Dan, I got this question. When are you going to support NDI 6? Huh? What's up with that? So this is the ability, this is the magic of a live show. So without further ado, also, I should also mention that there is a live giveaway. So you can win a 1-year BirdDog Cloud subscription by scanning this code right here. I would put the URL, but I forgot to do that. But just scan this with your phone, and it'll tell you what the URL is, and then you can type it into a computer, and you can enter that form, which I can see right over here on another laptop. You can enter this form, and you will be registered to win a 1-year subscription to BirdDog Cloud, which is super cool. And it enables you to put NDI in various places, different buildings, different cities, different countries around the world, and be able to connect them together. And we will have a special guest today to talk about doing that as well. So it all sort of comes together in a big magic bowl of soup. Let's see. Oh, wow. We got a good audience. Manuel is saying hello from Austria. And Nick West Live says hello. Reen is asking if there's any audio. And I'm going to check with my other guests. They can let me know in the chat, make sure that my audio is indeed active like it should be. Or if I'm just a mouth moving in the ether, because the way this platform works, when I'm creating it, I don't hear my own audio because it would have a delay. And Nick West Live also says hello. So hello to you as well. And On-Screen Creation says hello from Guernsey Channel Islands. Very nice. Thank you very much for being there. Let's continue on just one more time. Now, literally, the count has doubled in the last couple minutes. So let me come back up here and say, I'm hearing you just fine. Thank you, Nick. Manuel says audio works. Thank you. Antonio says audio is perfecto. Okay, that gets the award for best comment so far. If you haven't already entered, yeah, I am seeing entries come in. Let me come over here and scroll. Oh, wow, we got a good 7 entries so far. That's just a fraction of how many people are watching. So come down here, scan this with your phone, and enter on your phone. Or if you're watching on your phone, you could. I don't know how you do that, but that's the way we're doing it, is with that. So you can scan and win a 1-year subscription of BirdDog Cloud. It's a really cool giveaway. Let me continue along to our news. In the news, if you are someone that goes to conventions, ISE is just around the corner, and big things are coming, including brand new products. We're going to give you a peek at one of them today. There's exciting bundles and combos. I'm going to tell you about those in a second. And 2025 is on tap to be the biggest year for BirdDog yet. And there's been some pretty good years for BirdDog in the past. So this is going to be pretty cool. So ISE is Integrated Systems Europe. It's in Barcelona. You can see the stand right there, SD 400. If you need access, if you want to get a pass, you can use that access code right over there. I can't reach over there because it won't let me go past this little box, but there's the code right over there. It is from February 4th to the 7th. So coming up in what, 2 weeks? A little over that. Audio fine on YouTube. Hello from the Canary Islands. Hello from Holland. So thank you very much for chiming in today. I appreciate letting me know where everybody is. Next up, introducing keyboard. And this is the special thing Dan is going to talk to us about, this little beauty right over here, keyboard, KBD. So stay tuned. Dan is going to be here. Dan's going to be talking about the keyboard for us. And he actually has one to show. Also, if you are interested in the bundles, you can use the bundles and combos to save money and getting a whole setup. If you don't already have BirdDog, you can use a bundle to save over getting just a couple pieces. The X1 bundles include 3 cameras, a keyboard, and a transport case. The X4 and X5 bundles, you get a free keyboard when buying 3 X4s or X5s, and that's going to save you $1,200, well, basically $1,300 US. How that's going to convert around the world, don't quite know, but clearly we have a worldwide audience. So I'm just going to say it's US dollars and you can do the conversion. And first up on our live show, I want to talk with Ryan, who from MMG. He has been involved in some really big shows, a really big show, and involving NDI, which when we were talking about this, he's a firm believer in NDI and the capability of video over IP. So without further ado, I'm going to take that scan off there, and I'm going to bring Ryan on the show. So Ryan, thank you very much for being part of the show. I appreciate you taking the time. What time is it for you?
So we are heading in for just after 9 o'clock. So a little bit of an evening session, but we do all time zones. It doesn't matter.
Well, thank you very much for making the time. I know this is sort of supposed to be personal time and things like that, but I appreciate you being there. Now, so give us a broad scope. You had this really big show. Was it like big in terms of cameras in the room? Was it big in terms of like a couple different conference rooms? How big are we talking?
So yeah, it was a little big. It was basically, so obviously hybrid virtual. It was 150 sessions, each essentially its own event, be it hybrid or virtual, back to back across 3 days, 24 hours a day, moving across 26 countries. So, you know, every time zone. And then to top it off, it had 5 streams running concurrently all the time. Yeah, it was fun.
A logistical, I don't want to say nightmare, but it's something that you don't just do off the spur of the cuff. How much planning that went into this?
Like 3 months.
3 months of planning, and I'm sure with MMG's experience, it's not something that you just connect A to B and you hope that works. How many layers of backup did you have?
Well, this is the thing. I've always been quite a fan of having 3 layers. And I know that generally as a rule, that sounds maybe a little bit over the top, like a layer of backup is generally okay. But for something of that scale, obviously, if you can imagine something going wrong, it doesn't impact that one moment. It impacts lots of things. So that's why, obviously, we had backup on power, so batteries, generators, backup on networks. And then we had NDI feeds with another layer of NDI underneath that. And then we also had other ways of sort of traveling signals around if we needed to. But I mean, luckily we didn't need to step too deep in the backups, but there was a lot of rerouting that happened,
Yeah, and part of that, I think, when people talk about NDI, they kind of feel like it's this other thing because you can't connect an SDI cable from point A to point B. And it does take a bit of learning new things and moving yourself forward, right?
Yeah, 100%. But I think, people have done that in different ways across different sectors. I was mentioning a little bit earlier about audio, like that happened in that world. And now it's happening in video, and ultimately it will happen so that the whole of the AV system is built on the network. But yeah, I'm totally biased to NDI really, because I started using it 5 years ago at a point when we were looking at vMix, desktop capture, and joining things together. And actually the majority of the production sector was still based on Mac, not PC. So there was loads of compatibility issues finding out what worked with what. And then for you guys, obviously, the Flex, for example, was actually the first product that we touched that really got us engaged because it literally just worked every single time and was solid. And from there, we haven't turned back. Like, we've been deploying NDI networks across live AV productions, start to finish, the screens that you see behind people, everything.
Now, I'm gonna enlarge this screen a little bit because I believe that let's see, you have a pretty new camera behind you. I think you've been testing out some of the new hardware from BirdDog.
So yeah, we've got the X5 there. We've got a couple more as well. They were like our little bonus just before Christmas, actually. Phil popped in and dropped them off. And we've been testing them out. They've been out to shows already. And they have stood up, done everything that we wanted them to do. We haven't pushed them too hard on the NDI decode, like out in the wild, but we're doing that with the sort of research and things that we're doing in the studio. But yeah, no, really consistent. And the clients, when they saw them, were like, oh, they've changed. But they still saw the BirdDog logo. And they've built a level of confidence with the product, because the same as people expect to see certain things on speaker brands, things like that, our clients expect to see that on the cameras, because then they know what they're getting, and it's always delivered well. So, they're happy.
Yes, I do think it does carry a certain cachet to have that when people walk in and they see this type of gear deployed, as opposed to like a tiny little no-name device that nobody's heard of, things like that. It really does lend itself. And then you had mentioned the decode. I think that's one of the really useful features that's not getting a whole lot of mention, is the fact that it's one device that's going to give you two different capabilities at the same time.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, the camera position for a live event tends to be left and right halfway down the room, as does the relay monitors. So it's perfect in terms of decode straight into those monitors, which is what we're going to do with them pretty shortly. But we'll sort of just continue what we're doing at the moment in terms of the testing, just to make sure that everything's as we want it to be, so that when we deploy it, it just, clicks straight on. But yeah, once we've done that, then we're obviously going to do that every time, because it's just one cable.
Right. And then I think, being able to have the tally and the return feed and the camera feed and the power all through that one cable, I think also simplifies setup and teardown, which makes things go faster.
It does, yeah, it does. But at the same time as well, like if you've got sort of a level, again, this is redundancy kicking in here. If you've got a level where you need to have backup on backup and things like that, then actually you can complete the SDI run as well, and then still have both, which is great, That's
very true. That's very true. The cameras come complete with HDMI, SDI, as well as the NDI and video out, if you're going to use the HDMI for your monitor feed. When you do it, do you use it for return video or for like countdown for the speakers, which I always find is like, you can, no matter how big you make it, they still don't see it.
That's right. Well, so when you said it, do you mean the decode on the camera? Yeah. So at the moment, it's literally, in our mind, it's totally the relay screens, just because of the positioning. And when it comes to monitors and things like that, we just have the Flex at the moment, and just have one of those decode into the monitor. Again, which is quite good, because you can also feed an audio channel through that. So you can also take that out and pipe it in someone's ears.
Right. Now, when you were going from city to city or continent to continent, were you using NDI Cloud?
So no, we weren't. We've only really just started to step into that for a totally different purpose that I really can't go on about, I'm afraid. I would love to. Yeah, exactly. But no, it was all isolated networks. So we would build things with static IPs, fixed networks, that kind of thing. And again, that's actually something that's been really good with the X5, is it's got the screen on the side that tells us the IP. Because occasionally things would come back to the warehouse, like the P200s, and they'd get lost, like in terms of their IP. And they would just have to sort of spend another, say, 10, 15 minutes working out where it was sitting and bring it back round. Whereas with that, there's no debate as to what IP it is. It's always telling you, so it's really cool.
Exactly. So there's a lot of really cool features in these cameras. I thank you very much for telling us about this, incredible NDI deployment and your experience with the X5s, because I think it's something that a lot of people are going to be looking forward to, as maybe even with these bundles, as they're looking forward to building out shows for 2025. So if somebody wants information about you, your company, or wants to reach out to you, are you going to post links in the comments?
Yeah. We'll do that before the show ends. But yeah, it's just obviously mmgevents.co.uk for the website. Everything sort of comes from there one way or another.
All right. Thank you very much, Ryan. I appreciate you taking the time, and especially late at night. And I hope you have a good evening.
No worries. Thank you, mate. Take care.
Thank you. So once again, I want to remind everyone who came in late, if you haven't already, you can scan and win. Let me see how many have come in. Going to move my cursor over to the other screen. And we've got a good 13 entries. And I know there's a lot more of you online watching. You can scan and win a 1-year BirdDog Cloud subscription. I'm going to change this graphic so it includes the actual URL too. But you can scan and win that right there. And that way you can enter to win a whole year of the BirdDog Cloud, which will let you do what Ryan was talking about, have something in one city and bounce it over to another city and connect to it, control the PTZ, control the zoom, control the color. You're basically talking to the camera as if it's in the same room with you, which is very, very, very cool. And you can win it right there. So thank you very much for BirdDog for making that the giveaway for today. I'm watching the entries come in as you type them in. And we will continue along with the yeah, that is the first question. So we got a question that has come in. Does the keyboard work with older BirdDog cameras? We haven't seen the keyboard yet. Maybe I went out of order. You know what I should do? I should bring somebody else on who's going to tell us all about this keyboard. Dan,
hey, how's it going, Anthony? Look at this.
that looks quite nice, actually.
I'm pretty excited. It's this is what we've been working on in secret for quite a long time. So excited today to be able to talk about it. There's a whole bunch of stuff to go through, and I'm happy to be led by you. What do you want to talk about to start with?
Okay, so first, give us a high overview. How many cameras are you going to control with this keyboard?
Well, I'll give you a high overview. I can show you over the top. There we go.
Oh, I walked into that one.
You did, sorry. In terms of cameras, we can actually control, it's an IP controller. So obviously being BirdDog, it's NDI. So it'll work with any NDI camera to some extent. Obviously, right. Being a BirdDog product, it'll work more deeply with those. You can control up to 250 of them though. So it's pretty game to try and control 250 cameras at once with one controller, but the controller is going to do it for you.
I don't know if somebody's fingers could move fast enough. This one, that one, this one, that one.
Well, actually, I'll get into some tricks with that afterwards. There's some really neat automation we can do with that. So technically, you could quite easily do it. So.
Okay, and then when you had the overview or the overhead shot, this one has a screen, as opposed to the last one did not have a screen.
Correct. Yes. So that's probably the most obvious difference with this. So what we've got here is a screen. So it's you can see there I've got what's actually looking like a multi-viewer, which is part of the system here. And I'll just cut back to me for a minute while I talk about it. So the new keyboard, it's called KBD, which is obviously short for keyboard. It's got the screen on top. That can be used for a bunch of different purposes. One's just for configuration. Obviously, having a bigger screen allows you to control more things on the keyboard for setting it up. Although being a network device, of course, you can set it up through the web UI, and it's super easy through there. The big one, the party trick really is that multi-view. So we can have a quad split view of obviously up to 4 cameras that you want to connect to. And that's going to show you in real time with basically 0 latency, those cameras working. So you know exactly where the frame is that you're working on in association with any other cameras that you got in your program. You might have even noticed, and I'll go back on top here, it's probably a bit hard to see on the live stream here, but it's also got tally borders on it as well. So you know which camera is actually live on air. So you may or may not want to touch that while it's on air. The last thing you can do with this
is it a touch screen?
It's not a touch screen, but it has interaction on here. So I'm going to go through some of the controls. You can see at the moment I'm on camera 3 here. which is this guy. It's actually just looking out the window. The sun's in its eyes at the moment because it's morning time here. But you can also go full screen on any of these views as well. So if you're wanting to get right in and fine tune any screen or any camera, you can easily just jump into that full screen mode or pop back out to the quad split. The last thing we can also do on here is, I'm going to go back to me. The last thing we can do on this is also have a telemetry mode as well. And with that, it gives you a full screen view of all of the camera settings. So you can see what the exposure settings are, the white balance, even IP addresses and everything. So it's designed to be really the center of what you're doing with any kind of camera control. And that's only the start of it, really. So.
The first question came in and says, does the keyboard work with older BirdDog cameras?
Yes, it does. So with multiple different ways. We've built in within this keyboard an extended version of NDI control. With NDI, if you use a TriCaster or other systems, you can get basic control over your camera. Even with the NDI Studio monitor, you can move the camera around, pan, tilt, and zoom, and do some basic exposure and white balance adjustment. But we've extended that out with BirdDog cameras to work with all of the controls that you can do within the camera. So that's everything from all of your white balance right through to if you're adjusting your color temperature and brightness control, backlight compensation, whatever you might want to change on the camera, you can do directly on the keyboard without having to go to a web user interface or out somewhere else. The other thing that's really cool is I believe this is the first AI controllable PTZ keyboard as well. And by that, all of our new generation cameras, the X series, have got AI capabilities directly in them, and you can interact with them directly on the keyboard.
Wow. Okay. So AI capabilities is it's this broad, it does AI. Well, what exactly does that mean?
So AI, let me step back a little bit. With BirdDog, we've always been about adding more and more features to products. And some people love that. Some people maybe drop in every now and then to see, wow, I've got effectively a whole new product. And we've done that along the way with core features of cameras and things like that. Way back when we added things like color matrix, which is still really unique for our cameras. AI is the next step with that. So right now with AI, what people generally use it for and what we use it for is auto framing or auto tracking. So basically it's like an autopilot for your camera where if you've got someone on stage, it's going to follow it around like a little puppy wanting to follow around that person. We also have zone-based tracking as well. So you can set up so when people walk in or out of different areas, the camera will then move to different places. And that's all done automatically. And so you can turn that on and off. The cool thing with this though is quite often you'll have someone on a stage doing a presentation, everything's going great, the camera's following them. And then another person jumps on the stage and then the camera might get confused, or you might want to have the camera follow that second person. And that's actually a bit of a pain to interact with a lot of cameras out there. But with the BirdDog keyboard and the BirdDog cameras, you've got a little twiddle knob where you can just choose the person that you're following and you get a box around them so you know absolutely 100% which person the camera is following. If all of a sudden it's not doing what you want, you can just press the stop button and take manual control. You don't need to look at any interfaces. You're not going to have any flyaways. It just makes it super easy to drop in and out of that automatic control so you can focus on something else in the production.
I think that's very important in terms of a live event. You don't want to have to dive into a menu somewhere and hunt something down. Having a direct feedback on a control surface really does make it more immediate and more able to handle those type of live situations.
Totally. It means that you can use it really, truly as part of your production, rather than saying, I'm going to run the whole thing off AI and hope it works. With this, you can just turn it on and off. It's a bit like when you're driving down the highway. At some point, you're going to go put it on cruise control to do something else, maybe to concentrate on driving, of course. But with a video production, you can just put that onto autopilot for a moment and go and organize something else and know that your camera is going to keep doing what you want it to do, but then very easily drop in and out of it. Every other camera out there has got, a lot of them have got AI features, but you do need to dig into a third-party application or a web interface, and it's not something you can just drop in and out of.
Right. The next question that came up is keyboard a beefed up version of the old keyboard, which they say was a love-hate relationship for some people, or is it a completely new thing?
Okay, I loved it personally. So I'm on that side of things. Look, I mean, keyboards are quite, because it's an interaction point, it's really quite personal. People have strong feelings about what it should do. With software, you can move things around and customize it. But with a keyboard, it kind of does what it says it will do. And some of those interaction points on the previous generation keyboard didn't line up with what people wanted. And a lot of that's to do with things like pressing one button to make things happen. But to answer the actual question, this is an entirely new keyboard from the ground up. Every single piece of it is entirely redesigned as part of our new X series and really BirdDog 2.0, listening to every bit of feedback and integrating as much of that as we could. There is a huge amount of single touch controls that you can do within here, even just simple things like changing between cameras, setting and recalling presets, adjusting commonly used features like you might want to just adjust the color temperature as the day goes into night or something like that, or you might want to adjust the brightness or backlight control. You can do that just with a single press of the button, which makes it a whole lot easier. And other things, I'm going to go over the top here. It's a bit cropped there at the moment, but I'll move it across. There we go. You can see it. With the joystick controller, we've also got a palm rest. Like it's a physical thing. It's not actually a feature as such. But if you're doing a production that's all day long, you've got something to rest your palm on. You're not sort of finding that you're hanging off the edge and getting a sore wrist and things like that. So it's just we've taken as much feedback as we possibly could. Even the angle that we've used on the screen to make it so you get as little glare as possible, but also make it so you don't need to be hovering over the top of the camera, right, over the top of the keyboard to see it.
So another comment came in, a live comment from Gary. Will the keyboard have an API and a companion module so we can link it to companion?
I'm glad you asked, Gary. Thank you. That 100% was not a staged question, but I am very glad you asked it. So earlier on, Anthony, you mentioned about how many cameras you can control. 256 cameras we can control. We've got an API in there, and I think that's the secret. If you've got a lot of cameras you need to control, at the moment I'm using a vMix here, but whatever production system you have has got some kind of macro or automation system in there, and of course there's companion as well. You can send an API command to the keyboard and it'll switch to whatever camera you like. So the idea here is if you've got a large production where you're changing to different cameras, the keyboard here will just follow whatever your preview or program camera is, and you can easily switch between those. So yeah, it's got the API control. We've got companion modules for our cameras, and then we'll be looking to extend that with this as well. So effectively every BirdDog product works with companion. So as this comes out and gets released, that's really what we're up to next in terms of releasing these products and compatibility.
All right, we got another question, and I'm only going to throw this one in because you run BirdDog, and this is going to be one I'm interested. Will there be a trade-in deal for the old keyboard to a new keyboard?
That's an interesting question. So maybe actually I'm conscious I'm sort of answering questions and adding things in as I go here. We're open to anything, really. We think this next generation keyboard has got a home in every production, whether you've got the older generation P series cameras, whether you've got other cameras that aren't even BirdDog ones, although we'd love to convince you on the new ones. So we're certainly open to that. What we've historically done and what we will be doing with this keyboard is offering bundles. So you buy 3 cameras, whatever they might be, with this new generation. They're the X1s or X4s or X5s, whatever that version you like. And previously you've been able to get them with our previous cameras. So in a lot of cases, the keyboard has actually come bundled for free. So what we've got to work out really, and this is being completely honest, is how the mechanics work for that. If we've effectively got a keyboard that's been sent out for free, how do we then make that a valuable trade-up and a compelling trade-up for you guys to want to go to the new one? But I'm absolutely open for ideas and certainly open for anyone that's interested in that to reach out to me. I'm sure we can work out a case-by-case basis before we can formalize that anyway. Another
technical question came in, NDI only or Visa as well?
No, so it works. We love NDI, works with NDI, works with Visca, that's Visca over IP, as well as serial control. It'll actually also work with OnVIF as well, which is more of a security camera thing. But we're finding customers that are doing large deployments still have some old cameras that work on that OnVIF format. So we work with that as well. And you can actually see probably on the back here, where are we? I'm mirrored. there's a serial port there, which is the old school serial port. It's going to work with anything you want to work with. From the top, NDI is the easiest and most comprehensive, but it will work with every other format from Visca IP to serial.
All right. I'm going to pause here for a second to remind people, because the viewer count for me keeps going up. And I know not everybody has entered. You can scan this. Oh, I can't get my finger over there because you're in the way. You have to hold your finger up. From Australia. He's pointing at my. You can enter to win 1 year BirdDog Cloud subscription by pointing your mobile device or a secondary mobile device at the QR code and putting in your information. We have, let's see, I'm going to remove my cursor here, 22 to 44. We've got 22 people entered so far, but we've got way more people watching. So that means a lot of you haven't entered. And if you don't want to win, that's fine. You know, it's more chance for me.
It's a pretty cool system. You should enter.
So I just want to pop that in again. So thank you again to BirdDog for providing that. And let's go to our next question, which is these camera bundles. They look interesting. Can you mix and match models?
So yeah, I mentioned just previously the camera bundles. So what we found in the past is when you're running a production, typically you want to have a couple of cameras, and 3 is sort of your sweet spot for working on a production, where you can have something close, a wide shot, and then one that can track movement around the place. So we are offering with this, I'll see whether I can bring it up in a moment. We're offering a couple of different bundles, and they're really cool in different ways. So right now we've got the X1 Ultra bundle, which allows you to take 3 X1 Ultras and bundle that with a keyboard, and you can save some money. We do the same thing with our X4s and X5s. A bit like the trade-up program. If you want to mix and match, we don't want to stop you. So absolutely talk to your dealers, talk to us, talk to me. We can certainly work around making a customized bundle. But I'm just going to reach under the desk. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I think this is actually really cool. It's a bit heavy. Is this? I can turn it that way.
That's a big box.
It's a big box, yes. Well, inside this box is 3 X1s and also a keyboard. So it's designed as a carry case, effectively. Now, you're not going to be able to see it all there, but you can see there. Basically, it's a bundle that we're offering, which also has a carry case as well, which we're interested to see how people use that. It's it makes it really easy for a live production where you just want to bump that in for a live event. Everything's got a place, and the place there for everything, and it just makes it super easy to control. To pack that up and go. So we're offering that effectively as an X1 bundle where you're not paying for the case, and you get a discount on the keyboard, and everything comes together.
The case itself, because unless you're setting up something in a school or a church where it's just going to be there the whole time, a lot of people buy these things and they use them for productions that are different places. And in the BirdDog group, you can constantly see, this is the case I had built. This is the case I had built. This is what I use to carry them around. And to have a bundle that includes transport, I mean, that's a few $100s right there, especially custom molded like that. So
yeah, it's completely custom molded. Look, it's not designed to drop into a Pelican case. It's really for you to put in the trunk of your car, take it to a production. You've got everything ready to go. There's certainly a place and a time for getting a large Peli case and having the custom foam. But for if you're doing local events where you just want to throw everything in there, get to an event, I think these cases are great. It's nicely secured. It's all foam cut, and it's designed to really protect everything that's in there.
All righty. We're going to come up to the next question. Where are the BirdDog products at with NDI 6 or even 6.1 now?
So NDI, it's interesting because NDI 6.1 is probably about the 10th version of NDI, really, when you think about we had 4.5, and then there was 5 and 5.5, 5.6, all sorts of different versions. And really what we've done is made sure that our cameras are fully compatible with any of the versions of NDI that you have. That doesn't mean we always want to be on the bleeding edge of NDI. That's not necessarily the goal here. But NDI 6 has got some cool new things in there. And I'm actually really excited to talk about ISC, which you mentioned previously, which is a show that's on next week in Barcelona. And at the show, we'll be showing, and actually the camera I'm using here, this is an X1 Ultra, is using NDI 6.1. Keyboard's NDI 6.1, and actually all the cameras and also our converters are getting updated to that as well. So the next round of firmware you'll see will be NDI 6.1 across all of our products, really. So first off the rank is going to be the X1 and X4. Then we'll move to obviously keyboards, marquees, the whole slew of products. I've even seen, and I noticed that we were talking about it before with the MMG guys, Flex is a really popular product, and we've actually got an update, which is a major one for Flex, which brings that up to NDI 6.1 and has all of our new user interface, new API controls and things as well. So it's really giving that a big step upwards in terms of connectivity and functionality.
Very, very cool. Let's see if we got more questions come in. When can I expect firmware updates for more products? Yeah, you almost kind of answered that one already.
Did, yeah. We've been really busy. I know in some previous shows you've been talking about BirdDog 2.0. It sounds a little bit like a kind of a marketing or a throwaway line, but BirdDog 2.0 is very real in this building. This is our new office, but also across the whole company. And that's for firmware, it's for product releases, the way we go about things. The fact that we're only talking about this product now and we're shipping it this month in February, well, in the next month, which starts in 2 days' time. We're really particular around how we talk about products and what we're releasing these days. So it has meant that we've been secretly working on a bunch of things. So firmware upgrades really across the board, imminent. I've got that I've been using across all of the new camera products. We've got all the NDI 6.1 stuff, plus a bunch of extra features, enhancements to AI. But also with things like our converters. We'll be showing at ISE the long-awaited but very much BirdDog 2-ified version of our 4K converters firmware, which supports all of the NDI formats, everything from NDI HX2 to HX3 to full NDI, encodes and decodes. Everything's coming in that firmware upgrade date as well. And they're all living this new mantra of BirdDog 2.0, which has got a lot more QA. It's got a lot more focus on the quality of those releases rather than the pace of the releases themselves. So I guess the response there is thanks for your patience. We've been working really hard for quite a long time, and it's all happening basically in real time right now. 2025, as you mentioned right at the start, is going to be a big year for us. And we're actually only just getting started. These are exciting announcements, but we literally have announcements coming up almost on the monthly basis now for quite some time.
Well, people have to bookmark this page, subscribe to the channel, and make sure that they get to see the future shows as well. We had a couple more people jump in. So these are live. This is a live show. We've got a live audience just joined. Looks great. Question came in: will the keyboard work over BirdDog Cloud to control cameras?
Well, because it's all NDI, yes. There's the answer. Simple. It will. Yep.
Is there a case for the X4?
So I know the question.
I'm putting you on the spot, but these are live questions from the live audience.
I was about to say there's a very strong case for the X4. I love the product. It's fantastic. But I think the question is more about a physical carry case.
Yes.
What we actually offer with all of our products is the 3D models. So we're actually doing a little bit of toes in the water with the X1 carry case. And I understand the reasons for the X4 because that's got a battery, it's got Wi-Fi. It's a great portable system for making a case for that as well. So really what we're doing is just looking at this with the X1s at the moment. Very quickly, we can turn that around and make the X4s as well. So if this is a popular thing, then you'll see that roll out across all of the product range. In the meantime, if you go to our website, all of our cameras have got the 3D models. So it's really easy. If you wanted to get a custom-made case done, you can just send the models to the case manufacturer.
All right. Another question comes in about the case. Are you making the case something someone could buy separately if they already purchased a couple cameras?
Yes, we absolutely are. So it'll be available as a separate item as well. I can't remember the price off the top of my head, but it's pretty. It's relatively low cost. It's designed as it's a foam-based case. We actually use a type of foam. I'm going to get a bit environmental here for a moment. A type of foam called EPP, or expanded polypropylene. So it looks like it's your regular kind of expandable foam that's awful for the environment, but actually this stuff is completely recyclable. So it's a really, it's a robust material that's strong. It's not going to deteriorate, but at the end of its life, when you move it on, you can actually take it to a recycle center and they'll recycle it for you, which is pretty cool. One more little plug on the environmental side of things is the keyboard. This guy, we use, I call it aluminium. You guys might call it aluminum, but we use that material that's very light and very strong, that is 100% recyclable. But with electronics, there's a lot of plastics in there as well. So we've changed all of our plastics within this product to be OBP, or ocean-bound plastics. And that means that a percentage of the plastics that we use in here is actually recycled material that would have ended up in the ocean systems and ultimately might have been either swallowed by turtles or turned into those microplastics that are all over the ocean. So we're trying to do our best with the products as well in terms of how we're making these. They're great, they look good, they work well, they're very serviceable in terms of the physical products as well as the cases and everything as well. but they do have, as much as we possibly can, an environmental bent on that as well.
All right, I got 2 more questions that are coming in from the live audience. Before I do that, be sure, if you haven't already, because the viewer count just keeps incrementing up. If you haven't already, you can win a 1-year BirdDog Cloud subscription. Fill out the form right here, or use your QR, scan the QR code and fill out the form. I'm going to leave that on for a couple of seconds while I throw up. Well, I don't throw up. While I put on the screen the next question, which is, has Fleet Manager been shelved, or can we expect updates on Fleet Manager?
Very cool. So the answer is no, it hasn't been shelved. We've actually been working across all of our products, and we've had really quite a reset over the last 12 or 18 months. I'm not going to go into the details, but we've had some compelling reasons to bring out our next generation cameras and products. And we're really making we're gaining pace on getting those products out, and we're really proving that these next generation products are next level in every way, from the quality and the functions to the features they've got compared to anything else. The software is no different as well. We've actually been working on through the software ranges that we have. Cam control is already in beta with the X series cameras, and actually we're moving through to the other software as well. So you'll see Fleet Manager get a pretty significant bump of an update over the next coming months. It's not something we're ready to release just yet, but we're absolutely committed to all of the software that we have, including Fleet Manager.
All right. Keyboard continues to be a hot topic. Does keyboard have a Hall effect joystick?
That's an interesting question. Actually, this is a really good question. So a Hall effect joystick is a type of joystick, the way that it actually does the pickup of your movements. So the joystick is effectively the analog piece that you have within the controller. To answer straight, no, it's not. But to give you a bit more detail behind it, we were actually looking at putting a Hall effect joystick in here. Frankly, the cost is not a massive difference, but actually what we're able to do with this guy allows us to give us a significant, really, set of features. So I would encourage you not to just go, it doesn't have a Hall effect joystick, therefore it's not accurate. That is not an accurate statement, and you really need to see what the keyboard does here. The way we've got the control to work within this. And one thing that I haven't actually spoken about is our superfine control. Now, it sounds a bit like some kind of sales tool. I'm not sure what you'd call it, but superfine. It takes the control protocol that you already have with Visca or with any other camera, which normally gives you about between 10 and 20 speed gradations. So when you want to move the camera a little bit or a lot, it'll adjust that speed. With superfine, it gives you 250 levels of that. So straight up, you've got a lot more granularity with the speed when you're using the joystick. And so that's effectively 0 through to 255, depending on how fast you go or how far you move the joystick left or right or up or down. But we've also got a couple of other tricks up our sleeve. As you zoom in on any of our cameras, it's got zoom aware pan and tilt. So all of our cameras will actually slow down their movements as you zoom in. So you don't have these crazy flyaways that you see. And again, that's something that's pretty unique. You look, most cameras out there just have PT control. So as you zoom in, we've all seen it before, where you want to try and do a movement and you end up losing half the frame because you've done a tiny movement. We avoid that just with the way that our cameras talk to each other. Mm-hmm. And then the final step, which I really love, is because this keyboard's got a bunch of really cool functions. If you hold down Shift while you're moving your joystick, it actually makes it 1/10 as sensitive, which means if you're doing an on-air movement, you can hold down Shift and literally move it nothing of a degree just to line up your shot. And that allows you to be much more confident with movement. So you're just not going to get those flyaways or the unpredictable movements that you might expect from a regular keyboard or a regular joystick. So all of that to say, we're not a Hall effect joystick, but what this keyboard does is make the cameras ultimately controllable. So you really need to check that out.
Okay.
Can I talk about one other? Oh, no, we've got more questions. Cool.
Yes. Any idea when the Visa command list will be released for the X4?
Okay, I think I've been speaking to someone about this. The new cameras have a whole bunch of new controls. And again, I was talking, the basic controls of cameras are the same in terms of, if you look at Visca or NDI, you can do basic pan tilting, various controls. But getting the specific camera adjustments, normally is a table that you come up with all of those controls. We've been working on that. We're actually fully documenting it, which is taking a little bit of time. For all of the control protocols that we have across the whole cameras. Probably the best thing to do is if you have a particular command that you're after, just reach out to me. I'm just dan@birddog.tv, and I can get the answer for you. The protocol is all written up. It's really just in the I guess, path of getting that documented to a point where it's easy to understand to publish on our website. But there's absolutely all of those VSCO controls are available. So if you know a particular command that you need, I can certainly share that with you, or a set of commands that you need.
Next question comes in from Gary. Thank you, Gary. What's the situation with BirdDog Play and firmware / functionality? Kind of open-ended.
It is, yeah. So the situation is the BirdDog Play actually is right now, up until next week, our most capable in terms of formats decoder device that we've got. So it'll work with NDI in effectively all flavors, HX2, HX3, and full NDI. We have had a couple of things go on with Play over the period. There's a Gen 2 version of the Play, which we announced probably 12 months ago now, maybe even a little more, which has a fan inside there, and that aids with cooling. What we found with the first generation, it worked fine, but if you put it in, I don't know, in a event center behind a TV where there's hot sort of air around it,
not a lot of ventilation.
Not a lot of ventilation. They tended to get a bit warm, and that wasn't really a problem apart from they started to throttle down their performance, which meant that it wouldn't actually work as smoothly when playing back. So we offered and still offer a free upgrade to the Gen 2. So if you've got a Gen 1, we're happy to swap that out to Gen 2. In terms of functionality and what Play does, it's pretty complete in terms of the features, the API and the control. But like everything, we're working on things. We released firmware just recently, which just added a couple of little bug fixes and things. But as far as I'm aware, there's not a particularly major set of issues on them. I know there is an update as we're talking with these new firmwares that's coming, which will add even more performance. But overall, I think the Play is in relatively good shape. So. Okay.
This one's interesting. He's got a question about X4 cameras. Can you tell us about the Wi-Fi 6 on the X series? Need some recommendations regarding Wi-Fi 6 antenna that supports up to 3 cameras. Well, I don't think an antenna supports cameras. I think an antenna supports frequencies.
So it does, yeah. So antennas support frequencies, and there's a bunch of different things with Wi-Fi, and that's one of the hesitations we have when we're launching Wi-Fi with all of our X series. So we've got the X1s, which are Wi-Fi 5, the X4s, Wi-Fi 6, and their performance in isolation is great, but the performance may vary depending on what you have at the other end, which is obviously where this question comes from. What we do have, and it's taken a little bit of time, is our Wi-Fi receiver, which actually uses the same chipset as the receiver and the sender. So we get the ultimate kind of connectivity. And that's being qualified at 4K 60 to work with up to 4 X4 cameras. So what I would do is, we're in the very final stages of getting that released. It's going to ship somewhere probably, if I'm being realistic, probably the very start of March. But if anyone's interested in trying that out, I'm opening up a can of worms here, but if anyone's interested in trying it out, reach out to me. We'd love to get some feedback on that. We've been doing a bunch of field testing ourselves, but the more people look at it, the better and more confident we can be. But we're very much certain on the qualification of those 4 cameras at 4K 60 with X4 and our receiver. So send me an email at dan@birddog.tv, and maybe we can get a sample over to you to have a look at.
All right. Well, one last reminder for those who are watching, if you haven't already registered to win, you can win a 1-year subscription. Again, I can't get my finger all the way there, so Dan's going to have to point to it. There you go. Point to that. Yeah, there you go. You have to do that. And then that way you can have a chance to win BirdDog Cloud for a year. Not even 3 months, but a whole year. I'm going to pick it. One more question. This one's actually pretty good. Can't get to them all. I apologize. With the keyboard, is the selected source multi-view available as a source to display on a larger monitor for critical viewing, focus, color, etc.? Either via NDI.
Yes, sorry, I'm conscious I'm looking down here because I can see you, Anthony, down here, where I can see me up here. So the answer is yes, and there's a couple of features I'd love to talk about. So the first one is we have NDI router built into the keyboard. So that means that any NDI viewer, whether that's Studio Monitor or a software package, or whether it's a Play, can connect to the keyboard, and anytime you change the source, you're going to see that output change on whatever that is, whether it's Studio Monitor, whether it's a Play. could even just be an input into your multi-viewer, whatever you choose. So absolutely, we can have that. So anytime you change your input, not only do you see it on the small screen here, but you also can then decode the original output. It's a router output that you can decode on whatever size screen you like. So we can certainly do that, which makes it, again, really easy for doing fine level adjustment. Some of the other things we have added in is some fine adjustment on focus, and also some of the other settings as well, where if you, for white balance and things, where if you just press the button once, it does a very, very fine adjustment. But if you hold it, it does 10 times the sort of speed of that adjustment. So when you're wanting to just dial in that white balance just exactly right, or when you're wanting to just dial in that focus just a hair, you can just confidently press that button once, and it's not going to jump a long way. A lot of these things we really have on-air use in mind. So if you've got that camera that's live, right now everyone's habit is to cut away from that camera to adjust it to how you want it, and then cut back to it, because you don't have that level of control. With the keyboard and with our new generation cameras, we're trying to make it so you feel confident that you can actually make those slight adjustments without worrying that it's going to fly away or you're going to bust the focus.
All right. Well, Dan, I thank you very much for taking the time. I appreciate you giving us a sneak peek at the keyboard right there, and answering all these questions. I also appreciate everyone who's been part of the live audience, who has tuned in, and you should subscribe and hit that like button and do all those things. We didn't get to all the questions, but I think the BirdDog team can answer those questions on the YouTube channel. Looks like most of those questions we're not going to get to are on the YouTube channel, but I do want to make sure we do this giveaway while we still have the people here. So with that, I'm going to say thank you very much, Dan, and
thank you.
Push you off to the side. And then I'm going to add a screen share. Select window or screen. Yeah, let's do this. BirdDog entries. Yep. Allow. So here we go. I've got the BirdDog entries. I'm putting this up on the screen so you can actually see me do this. These are the entries that have come in on the form. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these names. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to copy. And then I'm going to jump to the wheel of names. Let me swap this around like this. Actually, we'll go like this. Zoop. All right, so this is for the BirdDog Wheel of Fortune. I'm going to replace that with the names of our entrants. And how many does it say we have? It doesn't say. I was kind of hoping it would say. Anyway, so this is the Wheel of Names. I am going to click to spin. And the winner of 1 year of BirdDog Cloud is Renee Trey. I apologize if I said that wrong, but I will forward your name and email over to BirdDog, and they will get you hooked up with that 1 year of BirdDog Cloud. So thank you to everyone who entered to win the BirdDog Cloud, everyone who posted questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of them, but I do think that it has really shown a lot of interest in the new keyboard, a lot of interest in NDI 6.0, a lot of interest in making sure that the new stuff is compatible with the old stuff, because people love using the old stuff still too. And I do think that if you really got something out of this week's show, being able to ask questions, because it is live, you are part of the live audience. We pull your questions into the show, and you feel this is something you want to tune in next time, be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, or make sure that you get notifications from the Facebook channel, which is where we send these things. And with that, I'm going to say thank you all for watching the BirdDog Live Session, and I will look forward to seeing you next time.